of the tuition tax credit for families. Cuts in Pell Grant scholarships for children of low-income families. Cuts in Title I funding for lowest performing school, cut of $2.7 billion. Cuts in special education
Talk about Mitt Romney's plan.
In my view, backing away from the proposition we've held for years and years that children should be educated to the degree to which they are educable. Cuts by $2.2 billion. Cuts in job training. Just listen to what they say. What he says. He says the effort to reduce classroom size may actually hurt education more than it helps. Tell that to all those private schools. Tell that to all those parents. Energy. We envision a future where clean, renewable energy represents an increasingly large share of energy consumed in America. An America that is energy independent. We see a nation that breathes cleaner air, where our cities are not polluted, where asthma doesn't claim the lives of African American children 4 times as great as it does all other children because of the environment in which they live. Romney sees a different energy future, where renewable energy, wind, solar, biofuels, they're not a priority. Where Romney's allies in the Congress oppose any incentives to invest in clean energy, but insist on retaining a $4 billion a year tax cut for the oil industry. A tax cut even they acknowledge they don't need. Women's rights. We see an America where no woman pays more for health care than any man in America.
Right.
Where working women have access to quality, affordable child care. Where women receive equal pay for equal work.
Right. It's only fair.
We see a future where the barriers are removed for women and girls who want to participate in science, technology, engineering, and the math fields. Where the Violence Against Women Act, the proudest achievement of my career, is not only law, but part of American culture. Where the government doesn't make choices for women. Where every woman has unfettered access to contraception and family planning if she desires it.
That's right. That's right.
In short,
well, how you get by Abner?
Daughters have every, and I mean every opportunity our sons have. Governor Romney and his allies in the Congress see a different future for women in America. The governor isn't sure what his position is on the Violence Against Women Act. He's not sure whether or not Lilly Ledbetter law that passed was good. But he is certain of what his position is on Roe v. Wade. Overturn it. Planned Parenthood, get rid of it. He's certain that any employer should be able to decide whether or not to make contraception available on their health care plans. Where working women lose access to quality child care. Where social policy that is basically a throwback to the 50s.
He is 1959.
We see in America where HIV is a thing of the past. Where infant mortality is drastically reduced. That's why we continue to invest in basic research in the National Science Foundation, the National Institutes of Health, the research universities. Romney sees a very different future, where he cuts funding for the NIH and the National Science Foundation. Healthcare. We see a future where everyone has access to affordable health care. Where seniors have access to prescription drugs at a lower cost, where they have access to preventive care, making their lives more livable and reducing costs. Where insurance companies cannot deny coverage because of a pre-existing condition, where there are no limits on insurance policies, where children can stay with their parents on their policy till they're 26, where Medicare is guaranteed and Medicaid is expanded.
Right.
Where no American
Republicans have no plan
faces the prospect of
for
bankruptcy
America
just because they get sick. Romney and his allies see health care a different way, controlled by the insurance companies, where pregnancy is a pre-existing condition, where coverage can be taken away if you get sick or hit your limit, where Medicare is voucherized, 19 million people cut off of Medicaid, where 30 million Americans will have to wait for another generation before they have a chance for affordable, decent health care. On the tax system, we see a system where everybody pays their fair share.
Damn right.
Where the middle class tax cut is maintained and where no one making $1 million a year or more pays a lower percentage of income than middle class and working class families. Where the college tuition tax credit is made permanent. Where the earned income tax credit and the child tax credit are preserved. Where everyone, and I mean everyone, has skin in the game and no one gets played for a sucker.
You tough, ain't you? Tough. Not a sap sucker.
The
Joe
tax
Biden.
code that Governor Romney and his allies envision continues to be skewed to help the very wealthy.
$250.
He preserves the Bush tax for the wealthiest among us. $530 billion of that tax cut over the next 10 years going to just 120,000 households in America. While we cut and eviscerate all these other programs, while the debt continues to climb. But in addition, he proposes a $1.6 trillion tax cut. The people who can qualify are only people who make $1 million or more. He eliminates college tuition tax credit, the earned income tax credit, and the child tax credit are cut. The result? 2.2 million African American working families will see a tax increase if he succeeds. That's a fact. On foreign policy, we see a future where we, the President and I and the Democratic Party, see a future where America leads by the power of example as well as the example of its power.
Yeah, I get it.
Where
you ain't get it.
Where the democracies of the world join to share the burden of maintaining world peace. Where we continue to reduce nuclear arms around the world. Where responsibility is turned over to the Afghans and American troops can start to come home.
On American soil.
Governor Romney and his allies see a very different future for America's involvement in the world. One that still has 30,000 combat troops in Iraq. Remember, he criticized us for bringing them home? Said 30,000 combat troops should remain. Where we set no date for leaving Afghanistan. We stay, and he doesn't say how long. Where the New START treaty, the new arms control treaty with Russia, endorsed by every former Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, National Security Advisor in the Republican Party, where he said he would have not proposed it and would have voted against it, and I suspect means where he would abandon it. Where Russia is viewed, in his mind, as the greatest geopolitical threat America faces.
In the 80s.
Where in the future, we once again decide to go it alone. This guy's vision of the future of American foreign policy is mired in the Cold War, and the Cold War is over. On civil rights, your raison d'etat, the reason for our existence. And by the way, I want to remind everybody of one thing. Remember what this at its core was all about. Why this organization at its core was all about. It was about the franchise. It was about the right to vote. Because when you have the right to vote, you have the right to change things.
That's right.
And we, the President, I, and Eric, and all of us, we see a future where those rights are expanded, not diminished. Where racial profiling is a thing of the past. Where access to the ballot is expanded and unencumbered. Where there are no distinctions made on the basis of race or gender in access to housing and lending. And so much more. Did you think we'd be fighting these battles again? I was chairman of the Judiciary Committee for almost 17 years with a ranking member. We went through these battles. I didn't think we'd be back. I remember working with Republicans. And by the way, this ain't your father's Republican Party.
It's really not. It's so not.
Remember?
Just to have a fair fight.
Working with Republicans on motor voter, on expanding the franchise, on early voting, on voting by mail. Some of these were Republican ideas. But this is not the Republican Party view today, nor Romney's. They see a different future, where voting is made harder, not easier, where the Justice Department is even prohibited from challenging any of those efforts to suppress votes. No, I know, look, I know you know, but I'm not sure everybody does. The House of Representatives Republicans voted affirmatively to prevent the Justice Department from even investigating whether or not there was voter suppression. Folks,
GOP missed off.
This is preaching to the choir.
Oh.
Let me close,
Joe.
my friends, by saying I want you, I mean it sincerely, just close your eyes and imagine. Imagine what the Romney Justice Department will look like. Imagine
Terrible.
when his advisor on constitutional issues is Robert Bork. Imagine the recommendations for who is likely to be picked as Attorney General or the head of the Civil Rights Division, or those other incredibly important positions of justice. Imagine, and I mean this to me is one of the most critical issues in this election. Imagine what the Supreme Court will look like after 4 years of a Romney presidency. Folks, this election, in my view, is a fight for the heart and soul of America.
That's right. Come on, Americans.
Again, these guys aren't bad guys. They just have a fundamentally different view. The best way to sum up the president's view, my view, and I think your view, is we see America where, in the words of Scripture, what you do unto the least of my brethren, you do unto me.
Come on. That touched me.
President Barack Obama says, we are our brother's keeper. We are our sister's keeper. We have an obligation. And as at the outset, as I said, I believe this election will come down to character, conviction, and vision. And it will not surprise you. I don't think it's even a close call.
Me either, though, man.
It's time for the NAACP to do what it's always done. What it did for me, a young kid in Wilmington, Delaware, inspire a generation to stand up, make our case, stand our ground, and make real our vision for America. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you.